Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name's Laura Turner. I'm Research Information and Systems Officer at the University of Manchester. And I'm going to give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour of another piece of work that we've done quite recently around the equipment and facilities module in Pure. I'm very conscious that I am the pre-lunch slot, so I'm going to do my best not to waffle and get you to lunch on time. So Graham's going to keep me on time. So I'm going to talk about something other than awards management for a change, because I know that's all you ever hear from Manchester, something slightly different. Okie dokie, so why have we all of a sudden decided to turn on equipment and facilities at Manchester? So we've had Pure for 10 years, and I'm ashamed to say that up until this year, we've never really found the time to do this piece of work, which for a big research-intensive university like Manchester with some amazing facilities is a real shame. But what sort of happened is that there was a bit of a meeting of minds at Manchester, and we were able to get a project off the ground. So why did we want to do it now? So a couple of years back, we did a big upgrade to our Pure portal, which at Manchester we call Research Explorer. And it suddenly dawned on both internal colleagues and external visitors to the university that actually that's an amazing place to find out what we do at Manchester. So there was a real drive around having somewhere to be able to search centrally to find out what we have in terms of technical capability at Manchester. So that search was a real driver for us. And something that sort of lived in the shadows a little bit, in that obviously we are a big research-intensive university, but we've got some amazing facilities, and the technical teams that are involved in running them are just fantastic, but they sort of live in the shadows a little bit. They run the labs and they maintain the kit, and actually they're completely integral to everything that we do at Manchester, but they've sort of lived in the shadows a little bit. So what we wanted to do was really highlight them and the work that they do and the really cool kit that we've got as well. So as ever, as you'll all know, getting a project together at a university is incredibly complicated. You usually have to try and secure some funding to do anything that you want to do. We're fortunate at Manchester at the moment. We're in the middle of a really large transformation project in research called Research Lifecycle Programme, which has pots of money available, and we were able to secure a relatively small amount of project funding, really for a project manager more than anything. To get this project off the ground. And it was really coming from that sort of search perspective, but also really from a showcasing element as well. I'd not quite realised until we started this piece of work how important it is for colleagues that run these facilities at Manchester to showcase what they do. So we have a lot of web estate at Manchester, which is hard to find what you need. We have a very prestigious facility at Manchester who were showing all of their equipment and kit in PDFs on a website. I mean, it was really bad in terms of discoverability and things like that. You know, £1 million building with like their stuff hosted in PDFs. It was just crazy. So we had a whole range of things why we wanted to do it. So what did the project look like? Pretty standard for project structure, but again, we're a university, so we like to overcomplicate these things. We had this pot of money from Research Lifecycle Programme. We had an academic sponsor. Again, probably as in your institutions, we don't do anything without an academic lead on these pieces of work, and they're, again, really integral in getting these projects off the ground, and we had a fantastic academic sponsor. We had a project manager just to keep everybody on track. I'm terrible at doing those sorts of things, so we brought somebody in to do really good PM work. And really key to this is we engaged with what we call at Manchester our technical operations managers. So these are the guys we have 3 faculties at Manchester who run all of the technology and the labs and the kit in those 3 faculties. So they have a huge role, but they really knew the sort of best strategies and techniques for getting this project off the ground. And then we also had technical leads as well. So what we found is that when we progressed with this piece of work, we found that naturally people that were really interested in this and could see a benefit for their lab sort of emerged kind of naturally, really, which was really nice. And then, as ever, with any sort of rollout project that you might do in Pure, find the people that love it and hold them close, because they'll do so much work for you, honestly. You know, they're out there talking to people and spreading all the good work that we're doing as well. So you'll know your pure advocates as well. I love ours. So roll out of this project and then business as usual. Start small. I mean, we say this in every presentation that we give at Manchester. Start small, keep it simple. And what we said right from the beginning was this was never a project to log all of the facilities and all of the kit at Manchester. That could be somebody's life's work, and it's not mine. So, please God, you know, we have asset registers and things for that. This wasn't about this. It was about finding people who sort of understood why it was important to showcase this stuff, working with them, starting small, word of mouth, going from one faculty to another, one school to another, one lab to another, to try and get people on board. And what we found we needed to do was allow flexibility between faculties. So our science and engineering faculty love it. I mean, they're just all over it. Humanities, which was a surprise to me, have some amazing labs and facilities. They're really on board. We've had less buy-in with our medical faculty, and that's largely been because they had recently overhauled all of their facility and lab pages on their websites, so felt that what they had available was okay. I'm not letting that go, by the way. We will wear them down in the end. But they're a little bit slower to come on board with it. Think about your data and its limitations. You know, you can't gather everything all at once, so again, start small. Find your champions. As I said before, we found that there were different areas of the business that emerged that completely got what we were trying to do, and we worked with them, and what we were able to do was build up a relatively small portfolio of facilities and equipment on our portal, which showcased what that facility looked like, which we could then show to others. You know, nobody really buys into this unless they can see what you've done for other facilities, and it's all about that rolling buy-in. So we were really lucky. We have a laboratory in one of our environmental sciences departments. They were one of our first champions. And they're absolutely amazing. And I've said here, be prepared, go and visit some cool labs. I didn't quite realise this was going to be involved in the work. But what I did for about 6 months was find myself in the basements of some very strange buildings on campus, looking at some amazing kit. I mean, I've been at Manchester for 16 years, and I learned things about what we do from going and seeing these labs that is just mind-blowing. But one of the things that our facility in environment and development told me was, whilst they were showing me a machine that crushes rocks, and it's their coolest piece of kit, right? They're really proud of this machine that does all this with rocks. What they were saying was, over the road, in another one of our humanities buildings, they went and bought the same piece of kit because they didn't realise that across the road we already had one, right? So this about showcasing, it's got so many different purposes, because when I started this project, I thought it was about showcasing Manchester externally, really had a focus on that. And actually what I've learned is that the internal use for this has been amazing. You know, we know that if we do this work, hopefully we can have better sharing of what we've actually got internally as well, but also being able to show how it's used, because that was the purpose of this, how these facilities and labs underpin all of the research that we do at Manchester. So I suppose the last one is a cool thing, but also a bit of a warning. You will find yourself doing some really strange things if you want to do this piece of work. And I just wanted to include this. So I mentioned at the beginning the importance of an academic sponsor, which I think will resonate with everybody in the room. We were very lucky that we have a professor in science and engineering, Perdita Baran, who sponsored the project and really pushed it forward. And I don't think we would have had the success with this without that sort of academic push. So she's just included a short quote for us. So just to go through, this project has dramatically increased the visibility of our core research facilities. It's allowed us to showcase our world-class equipment much more readily, as well as to highlight the technical specialists who are responsible for delivering world-class research. And that is really part of her mission at the university. She's really driven to make sure that technical colleagues at our university are showcased, and the work that they do is showcased and not just hidden in the shadows. So I think that the importance of your academic sponsor is really critical, really. Just a quick screen grab just to show you. So I think on this we're just tipped over about 200 facility and kit records, which is amazing. I mean, we started from nothing, and it ticks up every day. So people get in contact with us. They've seen these pages, they've seen what's possible. You get emails saying, "Can we have one of those?" And that's how it's sort of built up over the years. And continuous improvement. So as ever, these things go on and you continuously improve on them. Some things that we've learned from doing this piece of work, think about your structure. So one of the things that Pure does really nicely in this module is lets you build a hierarchy of your facilities and your kit. Think very carefully about that because that's really important. What we found is that we've come across people and labs where perhaps things are shared between faculties and schools. So that's a delicate line to tread to make sure that you understand exactly whose piece of kit this is as well. And also just be aware that some of the stuff that you've probably got in your universities and in your labs might never see the light of day. You know, we've got bits of kit that will just always remain internal as well. So just have a think about that. What's really key is thinking about how people might look for the facilities. So we're doing another piece of work at the moment to try and look at these pages with an external hat on. So what we've done is technical staff that have built these pages have written them as technical staff, right? So they know them down to the minutiae of how they work. But actually, if you're an external coming to find expertise at Manchester, that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for a service or a technique or something like that. So we need to go back over that and think with our external hats on. How do we make this discoverable for people outside of the university? One of the things that we did was we included loads of university abbreviations and then realised that nobody externally has got any idea what we're talking about. So I think we're probably all guilty of that. Keep on reaching out to new areas. Things just keep emerging. So we started with a mindset of really focusing on engineering and sciences and labs and things like that. But one of the, there's a couple of different areas that we're working with at the moment. One is our Humanities John Rylands Institute in Manchester, which is firmly a humanities facility. We never thought we'd work with them. And also Jodrell Bank, which is the observatory just outside of Manchester as well. So just keep reaching out because all sorts of things will appear when you start scratching the surface of this work. Think about how you represent your technical experts. We've got an example of one here, Ben. What we did was really, as part of this work, really encourage technical colleagues to have profiles as well, which is a bit of a brave new world for us at Manchester. It's always been quite a closed box for Pure Access. But we're seeing what's coming down the line, certainly in the UK from things like REF about acknowledging technical staff and technical staff being able to put bids in and things like that. We very much want to keep them included in this piece of work and let them showcase what they do, because that's what this is about. Training, advocacy, over and over again. I don't need to go into that in too much detail. You know that to embed these sorts of things, you've just got to spend a lot of time with people, especially with your advocates. In terms of in the future, what we'd really like to do is some reporting off the back of this as well, because facilities say, you know, annually they have to produce reports about how they've contributed to the university, and we think that by having these pages, being able to link facilities to research projects, to publications, to data sets, to PhD thesis, that's what one of our facilities are doing, it starts to build this amazing reporting picture for a facility to say, in the last 12 months, this is how we've supported research at Manchester. And I think throughout all of the presentations on the last couple of days, I think everybody's sort of drawn back into that relational database element of Pure and being able to link content. And that's definitely going to be something that's going to be a benefit with this piece of work. Related content I've touched on, really, really important. And then one of the things for the future that we don't do at Manchester, but I'd like to do it in the future, is being able to link up with local and national equipment registers and things like that, to be able to showcase what we've got in a more broader sense, really, just make it easy for people to understand how they can use facilities and equipment at Manchester. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura. It very much leads to this engagement and impact piece. I see 3 hands going up immediately.
Oh, God.
Which means clearly no one's hungry. But we'll see how we go.
Hi, Pernille from Technical University of Denmark. Just wondering, do you mint DOIs for the equipment?
We don't yet. It's a really interesting area. So the minting of DOIs is not something that we've traditionally done at Manchester. We're just looking into it on the publication side.
That would be good.
Definitely. And one of the things that one of our technical operation leads is very keen on is adopting some of the more standard identifiers for some of the facilities and the kit that we've got, because that's something that they think is really important.
Nice way of linking.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to do that, yeah.
That's a conversation piece in Australia too, that exact topic.
So hello, thank you very much for a super interesting presentation. I'm Carolina Vedal from Lund University, and we did a very similar exercise 4 years ago, so it could have been me saying all those things. And we made quite a lot of modifications to the data model in Pure, so I'm wondering if you can say a few words about the modifications, or if any configurations that you did to the data model in Pure when you did this.
Yeah, of course. So largely we've kept it as is. I think the couple of things that we've changed are some of the taxonomies around how we describe the research and the equipment that we've got at Manchester. Again, with that discovery thing in mind, thinking about the keywords that people might search for when they're looking for a particular service at Manchester. The only other thing that we've really tweaked is some of the headings on the portal. So some of the translations of some of the headings were a little bit confusing for people in the UK. So we had things like equipment, which doesn't quite sit grammatically in English. So we had some suggestions around tweaking some of those headers and things like that. But beyond that, no, we haven't changed it greatly from how it is.
Hi, Laura.
Hello. Hi, Dad.
I was wondering, with facilities, do you record them under equipment and also under organizations? Because what we found, we have some facilities with technicians and they publish. So for us, then we created them as organizations and added people in and synced the people in. So we automatically tag the facility with their output. But then we duplicate under facilities equipment as well.
Yeah.
So how do you make that link? Because that's where we then also link to other outputs, and then you have a disconnect between the two. So is that something you have thought about?
It's definitely a challenge, actually, I think, because we don't have all of our facilities in our university hierarchy, but we do have some. So, for example, we have a nuclear institute in the north of England called Dalton, and that exists as an actual unit where staff sit at the university, but it is also a facility. So, I think what we've tried to do is work with those areas to sort of decide which direction they want to go in, which of these things. And we've had a similar challenge with some of the research groups, which I know has been a challenge for a lot of us in the UK and seemingly beyond. I think what we've had to do is sort of explain some of the drawbacks of university hierarchies, right? Because that's a challenge for everybody. And just sort of really try and direct people into the type of page that works best for them. And I think as long as they understand why you're doing that, then that's worked okay for us so far. But I agree, it's definitely a challenge. Yes, in some cases, yeah, we do.
So that's very exciting. Thank you, Laura.
No worries.
Look forward to seeing what's next, and the more data, more content, more connectivity. Oh, one more, sorry. Oh, gee, I tell you what, I'm going to get in trouble.
So when you show the equipment and it's similar to us, it seems to be all the equipment there. It's possible to gather in different laboratories, like for instance, material science and the equipment for that particular area?
Yeah, that's something we need to do. So what sort of happened in the project is it's grown up organically and we've ended up with just a huge list. And our academic sponsor is very mindful that what we need to do is, even though we might have services in different parts of the university, if they're offering something similar in terms of a technique, so for example, mass spectrometry, we do that in 2 different faculties, we need to be able to structure the data around that service and not just how we're siloed at the university. So the view that we've got set at the moment is the grid view, but we want to move to that hierarchy view and be able to group different labs, different facilities, not just by where they sit for us internally, but thinking again as a third party coming to the university who might want a mass spectrometry service, how they can access that in one place. So I think we've definitely got some work to do around the restructuring of those pages, but that's where we want to get to.
Great. Thank you so much.
worries.
University silos? I don't believe it happens. Look, can I remind everyone just to comment on the app, fill in feedback on the various talks from this session. Thank you so much for your time, and it's now lunch.